Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my podcast, UFOs and Other Paranormal Stuff. My name is Andy, and this is pretty much a podcast where you can send in your real life incidents or sightings, etc., and I will read them out on the podcast. Maybe there'll be some episodes in which I'll talk about a certain paranormal subject. Maybe in the future I could schedule a live webcast where people can ring in, who knows. If you have any stories that you would like me to read out on the podcast, please send a detailed email to me at, I apologise for this, UFOs and Other Paranormal Stuff at gmail.com. That's UFOs and Other Paranormal Stuff, all one word, at gmail.com. Also, join the community at the Facebook group. Again, it's UFOs and Other Paranormal Stuff. This is my very first time broadcasting in any way, shape or form, so please bear with me. I'm new to all of this and I'm enjoying it already. I've got inspiration for doing this from Howard Hughes, who produces a great paranormal podcast called The Unexplained with Howard Hughes. I suggest you give it a listen. Now, I'd like to tell you about two UFO sightings that I had. One happened only a few years ago, but the other involved 4, possibly 5 UFOs at the same time. Have a listen and let me know what you think. The second sighting was this. It was a nice, warm, bright day in Croydon, south London, in the year 2013. I was walking home from work, but had to visit the post office on the way home to get some stamps or something for me mum. Looked up in the sky just before I crossed the Wentworth Road. I suddenly noticed coloured lights in the sky. When I looked again, I saw that it was 4 coloured lights, and that they were definitely part of something moving slowly northwards, which would have been towards London. The UFO was rectangular in shape, and the lights were lined up underneath, obviously. I thought that my eyes might have been affected by the sunlight, and thought nothing more of it, and went into the post office. When I came out of the post office, I looked up, and there it was again. Same distance, but oddly, it seemed that much clearer. It was a 10-minute walk home from the post office, and on my way I looked up every so often and saw the object still up in the sky, but in a different position. It was now ahead of me, still moving northwards towards London. I wanted to know if anyone else had seen anything, so I put it on Facebook that I'd seen a UFO in Croydon, but was careful not to describe it. Of course, I got some people having a laugh at my expense. Yeah, it always happens. But a few others said that they had seen the same object that I had. I still thought it might have been a trick of light or something, when all of a sudden no less than 5 police cars rushed by and seemed to be going in the same direction that the UFO was travelling, i.e. north up the Mitcham Road towards London. I checked the news websites over the next few days, and there was no mention of UFOs, nor was there nothing mentioned of an incident that would involve police. At least none that would be published on the internet anyway. That was my second UFO sighting. The first UFO sighting happened 21 years ago in the year 1999. What a great year that was if your football team was a United, Carlisle and Manchester. And what a sighting it was. It was a Thursday in May 1999. I can't remember if it was the 6th or the 13th. I'd been hard at work all day, and that evening my friend and I visited the pub for a drink, again in Croydon, South London. I know what you're saying, going in for a drink, having a few beers, la-di-da. I only had 2 weak lagers, Foster's, if you must know, and he drank orange juice. Didn't drink in those days. He didn't, I did. I always feel it necessary to state that. We walked home via Mitcham Common. which is well out of the way, but that route took us a small unlit lane that separates Croydon Cemetery and the crematorium. And only being at 21 at the time, we used to like to spook ourselves, especially on a very dark night, such as that night was. Anyway, we got onto Mitcham Common and walked up one of the artificial hills and stopped to take a breather. While stopped there, I looked into the sky and saw a white flashing light. It was not a plane, as it was not moving. I said to my friend, "Look, it's a pulsar." To which my friend's reply was, "Pulsars can't be seen from here," or "Pulsars don't exist," or something. I can't really remember. Now, I'm no expert on these things, but there was what appeared to me to be a flashing star. I told my friend this, and he seemed surprised. This, by the way, is a friend I've never seen him surprised. I've known him 30 odd years. He's never been surprised. That I know of, anyway. In the whole time that we've known each other. That's when things started to get a little bit more interesting. The star to the left of the flashing star, as we were looking at it, moved. It moved slowly towards the flashing star and stopped right next to it. I asked my friend if he had just seen a star move, and he said, "Yep," in a rather deep, very serious tone. This friend is one of those straight-laced, no-nonsense people. Honestly, Mr. Spock in Star Trek has got more of a sense of humour. More emotion sometimes. I'd believe him over my own eyes if he told me that he hadn't seen anything. But he had. And that made me a little bit, I'll admit it, a little bit scared at the time. I wondered what was going on. Then another star, closer to the bottom, if you like, of the flashing star, did the same thing, moved up, stopped near the flashing star. The frequency of the flash slowed a little, but the star that had just moved started to flash at the same sort of rate, but with a dimmer light. We had been standing there watching this for about 5 minutes by that stage. Another 2 minutes later, a star above moved. Around 2 minutes after that, a star above the flashing star came towards it, very fast, zigzagging on its way, but then doing what the previous two had done, got very close to the flashing star. To me, it looked like the three stars had kind of docked, if you like, with the flashing star. Then a fourth star moved from London, which was north, to Croydon, where this flashing star was. Not exactly Croydon town centre. Didn't pop into M&S for a sandwich. But again, zigzagged and once again got close to the flashing star. The way that the last two stars had zigzagged told me that they were told me that they were separate objects and could not have been attached to each other or the flashing star. What also proved this to me was my friend saying in quite a concerned but calm voice, "This is weird." Again, making me think that if he's saying that, then this is really weird, especially as he has not touched any alcohol. Nothing happened for about 10 minutes. Then, when the flashing star looked like it was out of energy, the UFO that was originally the third to move slowly moved eastwards, back in the direction which it had originally come from, until it could not be seen. A minute later, the second UFO that moved towards the flashing thing moved away westwards, a little bit faster, again back in the direction that it originally come from, until it could not be seen, same as the other one. Around 3 minutes after that, the fourth UFO to have joined the group moved off northwards, back in the direction of London, very, very fast, but without zigzagging this time. So then we waited for the first UFO to move. It didn't. So my friend and I decided to head to our homes. looking up at the sky frequently until we turned off the main Mitcham road to go to our separate roads. That's when we saw the first UFO that we saw at the moment leave the flashing star at quite a speed, heading due south. My friend was speechless, so was I. I did have to ask the question when we next met, did we really see UFOs? This was a question that normally he would have given me a verbal slapdown for asking, but instead my friend just raised his furrowed brow, nodded and said, "Yep." In 2014 I found an iPhone app which had reports of UFO sightings on it. I decided to have a little look and see what I could find. Nothing was listed for the 2013 sighting, but there was a report of a UFO flying due south over Haywards Heath in Sussex in May 1999. That would have been the very same route that the last UFO we saw on that day in 1999 would have taken. Spooky, eh? Well, it was to me. Anyway, those are my stories of UFO sightings to date, and I hope that with a holiday coming up in a few weeks' time, I will be able to add to them because I'm going to be looking up at the sky. Thank you for taking the time to listen to them. I would be very interested to hear what you think about those two sightings. So again, any reactions, any stories, anything about anything paranormal, please send me an email to UFOs and other paranormal stuff at gmail.com. And I thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this, the first episode of UFOs and other paranormal stuff. Thank you very much. Take care now.